Adam Schiff does himself no favors when he tries to grill Harmate DeLone. He sets a trap and walks straight into it.
In the SFFA versus Harvard opinion, the Supreme Court held that nothing in this opinion should be construed as prohibiting universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise, allowing universities to continue assessing students' experience with race on an individualized basis. In that opinion, in his concurrence, Justice Thomas praised the University of California for achieving diversity through race-neutral policies, including preferences for low-income applicants and first-generation students, and recruiting efforts targeted at areas with substantial populations of people of color. Are the race-neutral policies like those used by University of California, which Justice Thomas explicitly praised in that opinion, now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
Well, Senator, first of all, the investigation that we've opened is an investigation, and it's an investigation into the hiring policies of the University of California system, not the admissions policies. That said, I have absolutely seen abuses in the admissions policies in using race as a crude proxy for discrimination.
That's not the question I asked you. Are the race-neutral policies praised by Justice Thomas now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
I think you're mixing apples and oranges, so I can't really answer your question.
You can answer my question and say, yes, they are now illegal. That is what Justice Thomas praised in terms of race-neutral policies, which include preferences for low-income applicants, first-generation students, things like that. Are you now saying that what Justice Thomas praised is now illegal in your view?
Senator, there's a difference between what you see on paper and what you see in reality, and I reject your premise.
I'm not asking you about particular.
I reject your premise that how California describes its
practice.
admissions
I'm asking
practices
you about whether
reality.
you subscribe to the Supreme Court's opinion or whether you disagree with Justice Thomas' concurrence. You can answer that question, can't you?
In the abstract, yes. In reality, what you're describing does not exist in the UC system.
Okay, so Justice Thomas got it wrong. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
Well, you are saying that because he was praising the policies of the University of California. You seem to be saying now that any university that gives a preference to low-income applicants is engaged in illegal DEI, or if they put a focus on first-generation students, that's somehow impermissible. After all the years of criticism of cancel culture, you seem to want to cancel any institution that has views that you disagree with. In answer to the questions about law firms, you want to cancel law firms because they take on unpopular clients to you, to the administration. That is, if a firm represents someone with an adverse interest to the administration, which is their First Amendment right to do, and I would also say their duty to do, you would cancel them. You would cancel universities like Harvard or the University of Virginia that take positions and exercise their First Amendment rights contrary to what you think the administration wants to see. You would cancel the Associated Press for not using the ridiculous nomenclature of the Gulf of America. You're canceling now the Wall Street Journal because the Wall Street Journal had the audacity to publish an article about Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein. So this is what's going on in this administration. You've devastated the Civil Rights Division. Hundreds of attorneys, 368, have departed since January of this year. There's been a mass exodus from the Civil Rights Department. It is just a shell of what it used to be. They're being canceled. They're being canceled by you, by the department. Anyone that stands up to this president is at risk of being canceled. And I think what you're doing to use the sledgehammer of federal funding with universities to try to coerce them to accepting your right-wing agenda is disgraceful.
This is absolutely insane. There's something known as hand, foot, and mouth disease. But I think politicians like Schiff suffer from foot and mouth disease. It's beyond wild, and it makes my blood boil because Adam Schiff is the king of cancel culture. This guy tried to cancel an entire president by dropping a dossier, leaking it to the press, only for it to turn out false. That's what cancel culture looks like. Trying to get someone fired over something unrelated to their job performance, all because of their political beliefs. At this point, turnabout is fair play. We've seen an entire swamp captured by, well, I can't quite say Marxist. Neoliberals doesn't fit either. There's got to be a better term, because this isn't liberal. It's about concentrating power and taking it away from you and me. Schiff asks these weird questions, like, if Harvard's breaking certain laws, should they get federal funding? Or if the University of California has a solid admissions process but a questionable application process, which one needs investigating? His questions are poorly rehearsed. This is at least the second time I've seen him try to put a Republican between a rock and a hard place, bringing up Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas praising the policy and asking, why are you against Clarence Thomas? It's an attempt to set up a fork, like in chess or legal arguments, where your opponent has to choose between two bad options. Schiff's smart enough to try this tactic, but not smart enough to pull it off properly. Let's be honest, folks. The real reason he's asking these questions is to set up his own legal defense fund. That's right. Senator Adam Schiff launched a legal defense fund as he faces a federal investigation for alleged mortgage fraud. Former President Donald Trump has condemned him for years over promoting the Russiagate hoax. And I don't think it's just alleged. Schiff's in hot water because, to get a better mortgage deal, he allegedly falsified bank documents about his residence. That could mean he's technically ineligible to represent California. But hey, he could run for office in Maryland. Those voters might love him. Maryland's an odd state. It's beautiful, with great farmland beyond the Potomac River and a wonderful culture around Chesapeake Bay. They're crab cakes. Even I, not a big seafood guy, can't resist. But here's the deal. Schiff claims to represent California. So, which is it, Adam? Are you a Maryland resident or a California one? This is the fork he's stuck in. If he claims Maryland, he's been defrauding California voters. Funny how the law works. When you don't follow it, you're subject to it. Turnabout is fair play, one of my favorite political phrases. Schiff's complaining about it because he needs cash for his legal defense fund, knowing something bad's coming. When you lawyer up, you're usually in the wrong, fighting fire with fire, hoping to negotiate a good deal. In this case, that's not happening. I believe Schiff's in deep trouble. Think about it. Al Capone got nailed for tax evasion despite being a notorious gangster. Schiff might go down for mortgage fraud. How the turntables. This feels highly deserved. When you go after a president you don't like, make up charges, lose every time, and then an appeals court throws out a $464 million case against him brought by Letitia James. Well, folks, turnabout is fair play. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.